What am I watching? You can't just throw me into something like this without introducing me to the story yet. Imagine a world where an assassin could control your brain and force you to carry out her attacks. Watch until the end to see if you will be her next victim. We are on the way to 100,000 subscribers, so if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. The woman turns a dial which seems to trigger certain emotions. Next, she is seen in what looks to be a hotel bar. That is so trippy, I can't get the visual out of my head. Soon after, she enters an elevator and follows a line of women up to a hotel room lounge. Everything looks perfectly calm until… So it's official that this film will give no warning whatsoever for this sort of stuff. And neither will I. Subscribe right now or else. Anyways, after everyone has run out of the room, it's just the woman with the dead man. As she reaches into her purse, she pulls out a gun and sticks it in her mouth. Soon the police arrive and she has a change of heart as she turns the gun on the police officers. Okay, there was a little warning there, but how about we introduce a character that I can follow for the rest of the film? People just keep dying. That machine does not look comfortable. Who would want to just have their head trapped in a box like that? It's here we meet Voss, who has just cut her mental link to the woman we saw earlier. Again, there was no warning of this. There is no music change or visual clues. It just does what it wants. Tasya undergoes testing to make sure that her brain functions are still normal after severing the link, and everything seems to be going fine until Tasya brings up trying to reconnect with her family. A woman named Gerda is the one in charge, and she is worried that Tasya might be losing it. Tasya reassures her that she'll be fine, but it's not a comforting remark. As she stands in front of her apartment complex practicing how she's going to say her phrases, she can't help but stutter when she tries the different fluctuations. By the time she goes to the door, it flows so naturally. After a calm dinner with her husband, Michael, and her son, Ira, it feels as though Tasya was so detached from everything going on. Who in their right mind would ever buy this toy for their children? Who would buy this period? This is nightmare fuel. Later that night, Tasya starts to have flashbacks of the murder she committed the day before, but she still calls work to tell them she's ready to go back. No, I don't think she's ready to go back yet. By the way, that's just a hallucination. Didn't want to leave you thinking she'd killed her husband 17 minutes into the story. Ha! The next day, Tasya goes to talk to Gerda again. After Gerda gets a good look at Tasya, she explains how she had hoped to have Tasya take over in her spot soon. After going over the last job, it becomes increasingly clear that Tasya is losing her grip on humanity, but they push on.
Consider the face of Colin Tate.
I'm assuming this is the next role she's going to be taking over. Sure enough, Colin is the husband of a rich woman whose father owns a huge data mining company. By taking out all three, the company Tasya works for would technically own the last of that family, which means the company would be theirs. So nerve damage. It's definitely not just random circumstance. I feel like nothing in this film is like that. After a lot of prep and deliberations, Tasya is finally ready to make the jump to Colin's consciousness. Well, that's kind of unsettling as well, but weirdly satisfying. After what I can only explain as a bad trip, Tasya wakes up as Colin. As she inspects her new body, she slowly begins to calibrate and understand who she's assuming the role of. As she interacts with Colin's girlfriend, she begins to suspect something.
What's with you today?
I can't imagine it's too easy assuming the life of someone else, but basic functions around a loved one should be elementary homework. As Tasya contemplates what to do next, she notices a floating, pulsating orb that she reaches out and grabs. Once she opens her hands to inspect it, it's gone. Maybe they should have tested her more before sending her back into the field. As Tasya continues into Colin's work, she loads up into a virtual workspace. This is so efficient. Cram everyone together in a basic space, then give them each their own individual virtual work heaven. Save so much money this way. Should have seen that coming. Didn't expect it to be this low guy, but why not? As Tasya leaves the workspace, she can feel Colin inside trying to get out. She loses consciousness and delves into her mind where she sees Colin. Suddenly, Gerda is heard over her mind frequency saying that she lost contact for a bit. Tasya tries to play it off like everything is fine. I don't know, I know you don't want to seem weak, but playing with people's minds seems like something that shouldn't be taken lightly. Later that night, Tasya goes to her family's house and watches them through the window. I'm sorry, if your host is showing signs of trying to break free, why in the world would you lead him to your family? That feels like a rookie mistake. After Tasya returns to Colin's home, it seems as though he's interrupting a party celebrating a friend's promotion at his company. The girls talk about how Ava's boyfriends always get treated like crap by her father, which would explain why he's still working on the base floor. After he goes to the bathroom, one of Ava's friends walks in on him in the bathroom and hints that they had something extra on the side. I didn't realize everyone was so comfortable with each other. They're doing lines of coke with each other, screwing around with each other, and going to the bathroom in front of each other. I don't think I'm comfortable with this level of comfort. After Ava's friends leave, Ava tries to talk to Colin, but Tasya's answers don't seem to give her any comfort. The next day, Colin and Ava go to her father's dinner party where Tasya is supposed to complete her mission. And it's here that we meet John, who is played by none other than Sean Bean.
And I am bored with you.
If Sean Bean makes it through to the end of the film, I'll be surprised. After a terrible conversation between John, Ava, and Colin, Tasya wanders around John's enormous house to look for the spot she plans to carry out her mission later that night. John might be a terrible person, but his house is to die for. He's got a domed, star-filled ceiling over his indoor swimming pool that looks so realistic that it's surreal. I would have just taken over his mind and lived out my days in that house. Gerda and Tasya go over the plan here, which is to get into a fight with John so that they are thrown out. Then Tasya returns later to finish the job. Honestly, it shouldn't be too hard to fake a fight with John. His pretentious nature makes him a natural target for someone to want to punch in the face. I know it's Sean Bean, but I'd still punch his character right in the face.
Don't dirty my floor.
Well, if that comment doesn't get him thrown out, then I don't know what will. My mouth dropped once I heard him tell him that. You just don't walk around parties telling dudes things like that about their daughters. Viscous! Well, that gets him kicked out for sure. When Tasya returns, she sneaks in to see John and Ava having drinks together at a table. Once Ava goes off to bed, Tasya comes out and confronts John. Well, I'd say that's a job well done. Mission accomplished. Ava walks in on them and Tasya shoots her in the back. And when she follows her, she puts her out of her misery right before she tells headquarters to pull her out. Before she's able to be pulled out, Colin takes just enough control to damage the implants in his head that let Tasya keep control. Well, this isn't a good sign. Stop screwing with people's minds. I know the damage is already done, but at least he doesn't have to worry about that. And at least he has evidence now, and he just lets it go down the drain. He's not the brightest bulb, is he? Colin goes to his friend's house from before, but at this point, we can't tell if it's Colin or Tasya in charge of the body anymore. She allows him to stay there for 2 days, but she is supposed to leave for the airport soon.
We are now hearing from the family that the condition of Jonathan Parse has stabilized.
Are you serious? After a wound like that, anyone would have been dead, let alone a character played by Sean Bean. Right after this, one of Colin's co-workers shows up at the door and explains that the friend called him over to check on him. What was that thing? It looked more like a taser, but it shot like a blunderbuss. Who is he? Wait, what happened to his eye?
Girder sent me. I'm your lifeline.
Great, now help her finish the mission. It's Sean Bean, for crying out loud. He's died in every universe. It shouldn't be this hard to finish him in this one. This coworker is actually a plant that scouted this job for the company before Tasya took over Colin's body. He could have done a better job. Even now, Colin is trying to destroy Tasya's psyche in his mind. I'd say he's succeeded. Colin takes the skin off Tasya's head and puts it on, which in turn lets him see bits of her world through her eyes. He sees her son, the stabbing from the beginning of the film, and he even gets down and dirty with her husband. Lastly, he sees a flash of where Tasya lives before he comes to. During the testing, apparently the co-worker has been shot and Colin is in control of his body once again. He remembers the flashes of Tasya's house and he takes a trip to find it. That night, Colin knocks on Michael's door and pretends to be Tasya's friend before... Should have closed that door back a long time ago. As a matter of fact, who's opening their doors to strangers in the middle of the night anyways? You yell through that door, come back in the morning. Colin tries to find out where Tasya is, but as he continues talking, he compares how he feels to a parasite of a worm in the brain. As he gets ready to pull the trigger on Michael, he calls out to Tasya one last time to show herself. That's gotta be one of the trippiest experiences someone can have. This alter ego essentially shows up in what you're perceiving as the real world, only to ask you why you're in their home. Who's to say what's real anymore? As the two of them talk, Colin tries to put all of the blame on Tasia, who in return tries to make him remember that it was him. She asks him what happened to Ava, but Colin denies that it was him.
Of course it was.
This is genius. Technically, all of Tasia's memories are part of Colin's, so if she can persuade him to remember her memories instead, there's no way that Colin could really differentiate whose memories are whose. Genius! She really is the best at her job. While the two of them are deliberating, Michael takes his chance and swipes the gun from Colin. Why? Why'd you have to do the man like that? Did you really have to chop off his fingers before killing him? It's just extra unnecessary pain. Just as Tasia tells headquarters to pull her out, we're surprised by the quickest twist ever. What the hell just happened? Why did we have to do that? Who actually just pulled the trigger? That seemed a little too fast of a reaction to be the untrained Colin. I knew it. Still sad though. As Colin bleeds out, he comes face to face with Ira, who says to pull him out just like Tasia does at the end of her missions. Who else is being controlled at this point? It turns out that Girder was actually controlling Ira, and Tasia comes back to her body in the bed next to hers. Afterwards, Girder and Tasia conduct the same test from the beginning, but this time when she comes to the butterfly, she looks at it with a different emotion attached to it. Then we cut to the credits, just like that. Now it's come the time to subscribe and to put post notifications on so you can be the first to the video I upload tomorrow. Also, I have another video for you to watch now on screen, so bye.